Hey there, welcome to day 40 of our 365-day challenge to be you, to do one thing every day that improves us. And we are not using a little journal book this year from past challenges. We are creating our own. So today we are talking about something I did 10 times since the pandemic, and that's a 30-day free Get Up and Go challenge, and we've rolled that into the annual challenge. So once a month we're focusing on some area or aspect of our life, and we are going through the SOAP framework. The SOAP framework, well, upside down SOAP framework. One thing about the pandemic is I learned how to write backwards so I can show things the right way in my videos, because I actually use an Android phone. I'm not an person. I'm not an Apple person like most of my family and so many others. I have used Android products and other products my whole life, and so I just have not chosen to make the leap and jump into the Apple trillion-dollar dynasty of products and services. Anyway, so today we are talking about emotional options. The O in our SOAP framework stands for options. And one thing we'll do, unless I have a special tool to help you brainstorm, one of the things we're going to do every time we go through the SOAP framework for options is we're going to brainstorm at least 10 different absolute crazy possible ways we could deal with the topic that we're discussing. So in this case, we're talking about an emotion. We picked an emotion, right? You picked an emotion yesterday that you wanted to work on and apply the SOAP framework to. You use that 5-step storytelling process to discover your current situation and your desired situation. And I did the same thing. I actually used, it turns out that on our emotional guidance system, frustration, irritation, and impatience are all the same vibration, and they're all the same level on the EGS. So I was like, okay, I have noticed that I have been getting impatient and a little irritated, not to the point of frustration. I always feel like frustration feels a little worse for me because I worked a long time ago on defining frustration in a way that it makes me super duper hard to feel frustrated. But I didn't do it with impatience or irritation. So I can still get irritated relatively easily. I can still get impatient. I definitely get impatient relatively easily. So I want to work on that throughout the SOAP framework. So I told my current story about why I get impatient, how I get impatient. I answered all those questions, the different questions with respect to impatience. That's how I came up with impatience as a good one. And decided that's what I'm going to work on for so for options. I need to think about what are all of the options, at least 10 possible ways to improve my dealing with impatience. And I want to share with you, normally I do, when I was doing the 30-day challenge, in 30 days I would cover all 9 areas and aspects of our life. So the 3 biggies, health, financial, and relationships, I spent 4 days, and I broke those down, and I shared a different tool every day for the S, the O, the A, and the P. I tried that once in a one-day format, and it took way too long. It was way too complicated, way too long. Going through 4 to 5 tools every day in less than 10 minutes, not quite possible for me. So I decided I would focus on one tool for all the other 6 areas and aspects of our life. So emotional, I used the emotional guidance system was our primary tool that we used for the S, the O, the A, and the P. But I also broke down and added other tips and tricks and strategies each day to make it more fun and easier, and to understand the topic on a bigger picture standpoint. So one thing that I did was I shared, okay, what are 3 ways that we can manage our emotions? 3 different things that we could do. And now I've added a couple tweaks to that. But so different ways we can manage our emotions. But I would still want you as your action item to brainstorm at least 10 possible things you could do to start filling that gap. What are 10 options or possibilities to fill that gap? I guess as a side note, if you would like me to share different types of brainstorming or more information about brainstorming or how to brainstorming, please message me and let me know that, or share in the comments below so that we either incorporate it into this on a daily basis, or I can do a separate, a 5 or 10, let's go 10 or 20 minute, here's different types of brainstorming, here's how you do the different types of brainstorming. So when I say, hey, we're going to brainstorm for emotional, we're going to brainstorm for, and a couple of the other areas, I won't share a specific tool, But if you'd rather I bring in a specific type of brainstorming, instead of just saying, hey, we're going to brainstorm and make a list of 10 things and select 3, you have more in your toolbox for that, just let me know. All right, so what are the different ways? So brainstorm your list, 10 and 3, because we're going to need those 3 for tomorrow. 3 possible options, and I'll do that. I haven't done mine yet, but I always set myself up a little list of like 20 things, and I'll brainstorm throughout the day. I'll just come up with things and think of things throughout the day that could help me feel less irritated and to create the and I'll talk about that in these steps, because some of these options are actually things that can go on my brainstorming list. So number 1, first thing we want to do is we want to label or name the emotion that we're feeling. And why do we want to do that? So we can, number 1, find out, where does it land on the emotional guidance scale? I always like to find things on the emotional guidance scale now and say, okay, where am I? Because if I know that I'm at a 10 with irritation or impatience, then all I really have to do is look at the other emotions that are above that, and I can think of a way that would help me feel that more often or remind me of that. And that is, brainstorming a way to feel better, right? Or a way to handle that particular emotion. So we want to label what our emotions are. Now, I like to say, and one of the best exercises I think we could do if we have time is to sit down and take this list of emotions and define it. How do we see it? How do we define it right now in our mind? What is our current definition of this? What does it take for us to experience this emotion? And then rewrite that definition. So my second step would be to define exactly in your own terms what you want each of those emotions to stand for. Because guess what? We get to make everything up in our life. So why not make things up and set them up in our favor? And one of the quickest, easiest ways to do that is to define things. We have, most of us, just adopted the meaning that other people place on different things, different words, and emotions are just names of things that we feel, right? This is a little dictionary. So we don't have to accept that as our interpretation of what something means. So I will be doing, for sure, one of the things I have the option to do is change my definition of impatience and irritation. What does it take for me to experience impatience and irritation? So that'll be one of my brainstorm steps. Then we can reframe our thoughts around the thing that we define. We can reframe it. We can look at it from a different point of view or a different perspective. We could think about it in different circumstances, or we can totally redefine it. I'm going to totally redefine my definition of what it takes for me to get impatient, what it takes for me to get irritated. And why am I going to do that? Because I know I did it with frustration years and years ago, and now I only get frustrated really by computer stuff. And I need to revamp my definition of frustration with respect to computer and technology things and changing, because those are things that are outside of my control. Why would I get frustrated by things that are outside my control? I might get irritated. I might get miffed. And we can select different words that have a less emotional trigger meaning to them. Like if I'm miffed about something, I'm not irritated or impatient. I'm just a teeny bit bothered by it. I'm not impatient or irritated by it, if that makes sense. There's degrees of how we experience different emotions. We can engage in mood bolstering activities or state changes, right? One of the fastest ways we can change our actual state, and that's our physical, our mental, and our emotional state, is to move our bodies in a different way, right? If you're feeling sad or gloomy or irritated or impatient or frustrated, what's your body doing when you're experiencing that feeling? Notice it, and then do the opposite. Like if you're slunched over or sad or looking down, look up, sit up straight, breathe deeply. A lot of times when we're feeling negative emotions, we're breathing really shallowly, or we're breathing, head breathing or neck breathing, if that makes sense, and we're not taking deep, relaxing, calming breaths. One of the fastest ways we can change our physiology is to alter our breathing, alter what we're thinking about, alter what we're focusing on, alter our definitions of things. So enough rambling about this. You have your assignment. What emotion are you working on? You identified the gap yesterday between where your current state and your desired state. Now today, what are some options? Brainstorm all kinds of crazy options to close that gap. How can you get to the point? If it's a negative thing, you want to feel less of it. If If it's a positive thing, you want to feel more of it. So all of your gap filling activities will go in that direction. Any questions, any comments, any concerns, hit me up. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow with the A in our SOAP framework with respect to our emotional health and well-being. Have an awesome day.